moving is expensive, right?
It is.
Especially moving out of state, going cross country, it's extremely expensive. If I can eliminate paying 3 guys and I just have to pay 1 guy to drive the truck, but I have someone else, like let's say moving someone from California to Florida, and I have movers in Florida, I would only have to pay the movers to go to the customer's destination. Asking questions up front is a big thing. If you're doing a move and you have like, this table's not going, this is going, that's not going, grab like a roll of blue painter's tape or red painter's tape, right? And put the tape on items that are not going. If you want to make $40,000 a month, it's definitely doable, but you're going to have to, you're going to have to manage some people, right?
Do people really make $40,000 a month by moving? This podcast is sponsored by Postal and Photo Express, your one-stop shop in Cary, North Carolina for postal service, corporate headshots, photography, and audio-visual needs. We are the top-rated store on Google for instant passport photo, fingerprinting, and shipping service from FedEx, UPS, USPS, and DHL. Visit our website, postalexpressnc.com, for more information. Hello and welcome to Keep Talking Business podcast, where I aim to bring you successful entrepreneurs, small business owners, and influencers so you can get insight into what does it take to establish a successful business and inspire you on an everyday basis to do good in business. Today, I have a pleasure to talk with Alex from
Lake Forest, California.
Lake Forest, California. And what is the name of your company?
Good Guys Moving.
Good Guys Moving. Mm-hmm. And you were also showing me a while ago your T-shirt that says...
Yes, the Golden Residence.
The Golden Residence.
Moving company.
What does that mean?
The Golden Residence, we hold ourselves to like a gold standard, so to speak. We provide exceptional customer service. We treat your goods or items as if they were our own. So we're not going to just, throw your stuff in the truck, right? We're going to wrap it, take care of your items, treat it just like as if it were our own.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. So you do both commercial and residential moving.
Residential, commercial moving. We're hoping to expand into freight, do junk removal as well.
Okay. Okay. You can come in, ma'am. No worries. You won't disturb us. You will be out of camera. So.
Yeah.
Okay. So now you are in California. You have a successful business in California. You decided to come to North Carolina. What made you make that move?
Well, California is very large. I can only be in one place at one time, My business partner out here saw what I was doing out in California, and he said, hey, I think we could expand this into another state. Mm-hmm. And eventually, I don't know if you're familiar with 2 Guys in a Truck, but it's actually a franchise. So we're doing it. We are opening up a branch here, and one in California, and then hopefully once those get set up, then hopefully expand into, for example, Texas, Florida, Illinois, get into different states and just kind of expand it. Once we get to about like 10 locations, the goal, and to show people that, hey, you can, with this business model and our brand, you can make, $250,000 a year, and the goal is to franchise it.
Okay. Okay. I'm going to come back to the franchisee model in just a second. Mm-hmm. What I'd like to go back to on is something that you were talking earlier, right? You said that there are companies that move from one state to another state, but there is a need of having more people on the move because they need to load the truck from, their residence and then drive it down to entirely to the other state and then have that moved and then come back to the previous state, right? But your company aims to eliminate that need for having more people on the move so you can cut down on the cost, so you can offer, cost-effective solutions to the customer.
Yeah.
I'd like to know more about that. Can you walk us through that?
Yeah, of course. I think, first of all, moving is expensive, right?
It is.
Especially moving out of state, going cross country, it's extremely expensive. So if we can cut down, and the reason why it's expensive is because we have to pay. For example, if we send 3 movers, 2 guys are just sitting there doing nothing in the truck while one drives. If I can eliminate paying, to go from California to Florida is about 3.5 days of driving, right? 12 hours each day, probably closer to 4 days, because the maximum you can drive per day is 12 hours. So, and you have to keep track of that, because if you get stopped or you're going through your way stations or whatnot, they track that. So if you go over that, then you get in big trouble getting fined. So to answer your question, if I can eliminate paying 3 guys and I just have to pay 1 guy to drive the truck, but I have someone else, let's say moving someone from California to Florida, and I have movers in Florida, I would only have to pay the movers to go to the customer's destination. And then that whole travel time going from California to Florida, if I eliminate that cost for me, I can pass on, eliminate some of the costs for the customer, make it more cost efficient. Because there's a lot of people moving out of California, especially. So, yeah, I mean, just in general too, as a business, you have to look at ways to, expenses are good, right? You don't want to pay taxes, but at some point, you want to be as profitable as you can be. So
you don't want a lot of expenditures on your balance sheet.
Yeah, of course. And less risk too, right? If there's only 1 guy driving, things do happen, car accidents, right? So insurance purposes, it just makes it more, and also you have to pay hotels, right? These guys aren't sleeping in the truck. Instead of getting a hotel room for 3 guys and having to maybe get 2 rooms, you just get 1 smaller room, with a single bed.
Yeah.
Versus getting, a room with offering 3 beds or 2 rooms or 3 rooms, whatever the case may be.
And instead, you can compensate that extra money that you would have paid.
Oh yeah, give it back to the customer.
Give it back to the customer.
Give it back to the customer, of course.
Talking about your morals and your values in you personally, why should people trust you? Where do you come from? What's your profession? Where did you grow up? And tell us more about yourself, so customers can be in confidence that to believe you, what you're saying today.
Yeah, of course. So I grew up in Illinois, Vernon Hills, Illinois. Family hopped around a lot. However, I believe people being raised in the Midwest or even out here in North Carolina, it's a lot different than being raised in California. I hold the door open for people and at Starbucks. People just walk in, they don't say thank you or anything like that. But here, everyone's really friendly. Back in Illinois too, I hear that a lot. People from Chicago are so friendly, and then when I moved out to California, I was working for a moving company, and I was a mover, so I had the moving experience, and I don't want to talk bad about any company, but a lot of movers, they work for tips, right? So they work hard, they bust their butt to earn a tip, right? And whether they get gratuity at the end or not, that's totally up to the customer. It's optional, but most of the time we would receive tips. But the company that I was working for, I won't say the name, but they just, at the end of the invoice, when the customer would go to pay their bill, they were shocked to see that the bill was almost twice as much as what they got quoted, right? And just a lot of dishonest things that were going on. And I said to myself, and then the customer would be like, hey, I was going to tip you guys, but your company ripped me off. And they were like, hey, again, we know we just work here, right? It's not us. But they said, hey, you guys did a great job, this and that. So I just said to myself, okay, I'm working my butt off. What can I do? How do I start a moving company, right? So I started doing research. Okay, you have to go to the Bureau of Household Goods. You have to get your moving license. You have to get insurance, general liability, commercial auto, all these things. And then from that standpoint, and prior to that, I did work in mortgage for over 10 years. So I have a mortgage background, sales experience, customer service. I know how to treat people right over the phone, especially. And especially in mortgage, you have to be very honest and upfront. You can't lie, right? Not saying that I would, but you just you go through every line of these documents. You have to be very thorough and honest and everything, right? So I feel like honesty is the best policy. So that kind of translated over to the mortgage knowledge that I had in the sales and customer service. It transferred over to when I started the moving. So once I got the license and everything set up, and then it just became marketing, right? Okay, how do I market myself? So we tried different things like Facebook ads, Nextdoor, Craigslist, and what I found to be most successful is Google, right? So you try
Google reviews, the ultimate source of confidence that comes into people's mind when they search for something like, I really appreciate you talking about our business here.
Yeah.
Looking at fingerprint. Now we're transitioned back to the business again. Give us some tips and tricks. As a consumer, I'm moving. I'm moving house from one state to another state, or I'm moving inside the state, one place to another place, right? What are some of the things that I can do so that the moving company don't cheat us?
Track the drive time, right? So in a lot of states, it's called double drive time, and asking questions up front is a big thing, right? So people always go with the lowest quote that they get quoted. But again, that's just a quote. It's just an estimate. So you have to ask the right questions, right? Okay, does that, the price that you're quoting me, does that include materials?
Materials.
Right? Do you charge extra for materials? Your double drive time. So usually they charge from the pickup location to the destination, and then they take that time and then they double it, right? Because they have to drive back. So if I was driving from North Carolina to California, I also have to charge you for coming back, right? We're not moving in with you, right? So they charge there and back. But a lot of companies, what they do is they will charge you from the time that they leave their warehouse to get to you. So we are in Cary?
We're in Cary, North Carolina.
We're in Cary, North Carolina. So, for example, how far is Raleigh from here?
Raleigh, about 10 miles.
10 miles. What's a city that's like an hour from here?
High Point.
High Point. So, for example, if you hired a moving company in High Point, right, I would definitely ask them, hey, are you guys going to start charging me from the time that you leave High Point to get to Cary? Or are you going to start charging me from the time that you arrive at my house? And then if they say, oh, we charge from the time we leave the warehouse, do you charge from your warehouse to get to me and then back to your warehouse? Or is it from pickup location to drop off and then take that time and double? The other thing is being prepared. I notice a lot of people, when we show up to their move, and we ask them on the phone a lot, hey, is everything packed? Do you need us to pack for you? They say, oh yeah, no, we got everything packed. And we show up and it's just a mess, So
how many times have you had those nightmares?
I would say it's pretty much like 7 out of 10 people. They say, oh yeah, everything's packed, but they think, all like the little stuff, or even if they do pack it, they'll put all their dishes, they'll take the whole stack and just put it in a box. And then when I pick up the box on a dolly or whatever, I just hear the little like tink, 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 like you can hear that they didn't use any wrapping paper or anything. So if you put that in a truck and it's bouncing, it's most likely going to break. But just more tips and tricks on how to save money. Besides what the moving company can do and asking those questions, definitely, trying to pack as much as you can prior to your move, making sure things are organized. So like, let's say you do pack things in boxes, but you have a bunch of different size, shape boxes and different weights, start with heavy boxes on the bottom and then work your way up, and try to have all boxes like the same size. I'll show up to a house and you'll see like a light small box on the bottom with the heavy box on top of that, and just all different kinds of shapes and sizes. Or you just walk into a house and you can't even get the dolly in there, right? Try to create a pathway so there's room to move, because I spend a lot of time just organizing the house, right? To get things so that I can make a pathway for me to get to things, and also the other thing is saving time is if you're doing a move and you have like, this table's not going, this is going, that's not going, grab like a roll of blue painter's tape or red painter's tape, right? And put the tape on items that are not going. I can't tell you how many times, we'll do a walkthrough with the customer, and it's hard to remember because, there's the whole house is full and they're saying, okay, this goes, that goes, this doesn't go. So what I do is I typically bring tape with me to do that. But yeah, it's just those little tips, and then
marking the items that goes into the move, and marking the items that
don't go, right? Or junk, right? And then the last thing I would say is, definitely planning ahead.
Moving is a complex process, right? It's not only a complex process for the customers, like me, consumers like me, but also it could be a complex process for movers like you as well. When it comes to a point where your ideas don't match my ideas, right? How do you consolidate? How do you come into a mutual agreement on what goes which way, how it should be moved, how it should be packed? How do you consolidate ideas and still do the business?
I mean, I always take customer suggestions into play. I always try to do what they tell me to do. Sometimes, I just want to make sure it's clear. For example, we did a big job this last week, and it's hard when family members get involved, especially family members like, if it's an older couple, husband and wife, and their kids are there, right? And I'm not talking like little kids, I'm talking about like adult children, right?
Okay, Alex, let's talk about the cost, right? Everybody says that, okay, we are the least expensive mover around the area. We are the least expensive among our competitors, and we provide the best service. But people don't tell so many things. They don't tell you the straight cost. How much does it cost with your company to move? If it's a one-bedroom house, I know it's a very vague question, and it really depends on many factors, but I want you to tell my audiences that how much does it cost to move one-bedroom house within the state, which is about 50 miles apart?
Yeah, of course. So, it really depends on how many movers you have. But for example, if it was just a one-bedroom house, I would suggest just 2 movers and a truck. And again, it just really depends on how much stuff you have, right? What I typically do is to incentivize customers to get a discount. I offer 2 rates. I offer a credit card rate, and then I offer a cash rate. Cash could be Zelle or Venmo, right? So I'll offer, $160 an hour for 2 movers and a truck. However, if you pay cash or Zelle, then it's $140 an hour cash. And then
$140 an hour for the total cost.
$140 an hour, correct. And then there's like a $40 truck fee for fuel. And then really we include shrink wrap and tape. Any other expenses like a mattress bag or boxes, things of that nature, we do charge for because those are kind of hard to reuse. The other thing that we do include also are moving blankets and typically 6 wardrobe boxes. As long as we get the wardrobe boxes back at the end, we don't charge, and obviously the moving blankets. And then it just really depends on what the drive time is. So 50 miles, it depends if you're sitting in traffic, but let's just say you're not sitting in traffic and you're going 60 miles an hour. It's 50 miles away, probably an hour there, hour back. So that's 2 hours. And like a 1-bedroom house, let's just say, and most companies, they charge a 3-hour minimum.
Okay.
Right? Because a lot of people will be like, well, it's only going to take you guys an hour. Well, I have to pay 2 movers to get into the truck, drive to you. It might take a half hour there, half hour back. That's an hour. And if it takes 2 hours, I'm paying movers for 3 hours, plus the wear and tear on the truck, oil, gas, all that stuff adds up, especially with insurance. If there's a lot of movers out there that operate without insurance, operate without a license. We're licensed and insured. So you don't have to worry, especially with general liability, if you got someone coming onto your property and they're removing your refrigerator, your washer and dryer, and you're selling the home, especially, the last thing you want to do is hire someone that doesn't have insurance, because if they break a pipe or a valve and they flood your house with water, you want to make sure you're covered. But I would say typically, a lot of people get scared when it comes to the hourly rate. It will actually cost you less money if I brought 3 movers to a 1-bedroom house, right? So for example, the rate would be like $210 credit card and $190 an hour. So it's only if you break it down, let's just use the cash rate, for example, right? $140 for 2 movers, that's $70 a mover, right? But if I do $190 for 3 movers, that additional mover is only $50. And you also have a third mover. So it goes faster, it gets done quicker. So I've never done a move where I've had more movers and it costs more money. It always gets done faster, and it always costs less money. I use our CRM is called Smart Moving, and anytime I send a customer an estimate, I show them like, hey, look at, especially if it's a bigger home, I'll show, okay, hey, here's what it would look like with 2 movers. Here's what it would look like with 3 movers.
You were talking about franchisee opportunities. You have a successful business in California. Now you saw an opportunity in North Carolina. Now you're expanding your business to the state of North Carolina, and you're also trying to find more businesses to buy your franchisee. Why would I buy your franchisee, and how much does it cost? How much money can I make from it?
I mean, it really depends on how much money you want to spend on marketing, right? And what your capacity is and how hard you want to work, right? If you want to make $40,000 a month, it's definitely doable, but you're going to have to, you're going to have to manage some people, right?
Do people really make $40,000 a month by moving?
Yeah,
in
gross receipts. Yeah, it's July 21st, and I'm already exceeded 40,000 for this month.
You made $40,000 on the month of July.
In gross bookings.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot, man. Mm-hmm. How did you manage to come to this point?
A lot of sacrifices, working a lot. But that's kind of, for young entrepreneurs or even older entrepreneurs, whatever, entrepreneur in general, you're going to have to make certain sacrifices in the beginning. It's not going to happen overnight. And I feel like the more sacrifices you make in the beginning, the sooner you will accomplish that goal, right? If you kind of take your time with it, it's going to take longer, right? And without risk, there's no reward, right? So you definitely have to take risk, but calculated risk, right? I'm not just throwing money into the business blindly, right? You have to get your website dialed in. You have to get your licensing, get your insurance. Once you become official, right, then it really just becomes marketing.
You started your business, right? From day one where you made $0 with $10, $5 to come to a point where you have made $40,000 in gross bookings at the 21st day of July.
Yeah.
You still have 9 days left to have the month over. How long did it take?
I would say, well, we started the business in May of 2023, so it's been a year and 2 months, but it could have been done sooner. To be honest, it was just
in just a matter of 1 or 1.5 years.
I would say honestly, to answer your question, it could be done in 3-4 months to get to that point.
That's insane.
Yeah. Thing is, my wife had a baby, so she was in the hospital. The baby was in the NICU for 3 weeks. So there was that little factor. So I had to be there for that. And then, making sure, like, hindsight is 20/20, right? Knowing what I know now, it could have been done sooner. If someone were to pay me to do it, I could get it. Or if I was to coach someone, even if they didn't pay me, knowing what I know now and going through the process, because again, there's that, like I said, taking a calculated risk, right? You don't want to just throw money into something and lose it, right? But knowing what I know now, if I would have been a bigger risk taker, I would have gotten to that 40,000 mark a lot sooner.
Okay. Well, that's $40,000 a month is a lot of money for me, right? Even if I wanted to get a portion of it, $10,000 a month, beginning tomorrow, beginning a month from now, where do I start with you?
Well, first thing you got to do is, figure out your business name, get your LLC, get your EIN number. These are all things that you can do relatively.
Just pretty much administrative stuff.
Yeah, just to become official. It's really, basic stuff. I mean, you can go on the IRS website, get your EIN number for free. You can go through LegalZoom, and don't go to LegalZoom where you pay the $500 thing where they do everything for you. You can do all that yourself, right? You just pay the state filing fee to incorporate your LLC, right? Or you can go for North Carolina, it's like $120, right? You get your LLC. Then once you have your LLC and your articles of organization, then you go and you go to the bank, you get your EIN number. Well, first you go get your EIN number, you go to the bank, you open up a business checking account, right? Go to like GoDaddy, go get Paylinks, a Paylinks account, so you can accept payments from customers. It's free. If you're accepting credit card or debit card payments, they charge like 2.6%. But you can, as long as you get your LLC and you get your payment processing and accept, because you can accept cash or Zelle, but some people won't want to pay. We collect a deposit on every move, right? And that deposit gets applied
to be able to charge that amount of money from the credit card of the customer.
Exactly.
Okay.
So if you were going to start with me, I would say get those things lined up.
Okay.
And then I would either, coach you and say, hey, once you do this, then you have to get a Google. Once you get an address, go to like a UPS store, get like a physical address for your business, and then go get a Google business profile page, right? And then just try to get some jobs, whatever it is. It doesn't matter if it's a 1-bedroom house or a 1-bedroom apartment, or even if it's you're delivering, you're picking something up from, I don't know, do they have Costco out here?
They do.
They do. Okay. Sorry. Okay. So back in the Midwest, it's like all Sam's Club. But if it's Sam's Club or Costco, right? Like I got a call the other day. A guy wanted us to pick up a couch for him from Costco. Yeah, of course, we'll do that. Or today I got a call. I'm here in North Carolina. I got a couple guys in California that are Home Depot dropped off a vanity for a gentleman. It's on the first floor. He needs it brought up to the second floor. Even little things like that, customers will appreciate, because other companies are trying to charge $1,800 for that one item.
That's right.
Give them a fair price, $200, $250, whatever the case may be, as long as they agree to it and they think it's fair. That customer is most likely going to write you a good review. I'm thinking long term, right? Like if you're going to be in business, you have to think of the long term. You're not going to become a millionaire overnight. The $40,000 in gross revenue and bookings is not going to come overnight. It's going to take a little bit of work. But those things I did in the beginning, right? The grunt work. I would go out of my way for customers. I still go out of my way for customers. But now, so the way Google works is once you get 30 reviews on Google, then they consider you a legitimate business. Once you get 300 reviews on Google, they'll even start advertising for you, right? And the other thing I forgot to mention about Google is with our reviews, right? The reason why people can trust me and trust my company is we're Google guaranteed. So in order to become Google guaranteed, you have to submit your license. So you have to, they verify your license. They do background checks, which is a big one. They verify your insurance. And also your reviews as well. And then you become Google guaranteed. So Google will pretty much not insure you, but if the customer is dissatisfied, I think they'll pay up to like $2,000 to the customer if you were to rip them off or take advantage of them, things like that.
That's great.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Alex. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
This has been a great conversation, very insightful into the moving business that you own and operate, and now expanding into North Carolina. People who are looking to move, house from one city to another city, one state to a different state, they can benefit from your service here in North Carolina, and especially for the people who are trying to move between California and the North Carolina now can be best assured that they can get the best benefit, best service, and best rate, because you will have a presence here in North Carolina as well as in California, and you don't have to pay for people that sits idly in the driving.
Right.
Really appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me.
We'll continue this conversation on the next episodes and things as such as you establish more. Do you have any last minute words to your customers, your potential customers in the state of North Carolina?
I mean, if you need help moving, feel free to give us a call. The number's, the number is on the back. I don't know if you can see that.
The camera can't see that. I think we're pretty close. Yeah, should be good. Yeah. I'm going to go ahead and display your number and your company
Yeah.
information on this video site as well. Again,
I appreciate it.
very much.
Yeah, thank you so much.
All right, guys. Till next time. Goodbye.